Hey, it's your friend Jerry with another QOQPro episode. I wanted to do an episode to acknowledge all the nurses and healthcare professionals who have been putting their lives on the line during the pandemic. I started editing this episode around the first week of May, which is National Nurses Week. But since then, there's been a lot going on. Pandemic restrictions have started to decrease. There have been a lot of protests. The city of Atlanta has faced destruction during protests that went from peaceful to chaotic. However, I still felt that today's episode was very relevant and very important to share. Cue the intro. This is such a privilege and an honor to have my niece, Natalie. Natalie, all the way in Cali. How are you?
Hey. Thank you. First, I would just like to say thank you for having me, I guess. And I'm fine. I'm well. So, how about you? How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you very much. I know now, while we're in the pandemic mode and everything, that you're way over in California, and you know that was the first thought I had when they sent everything into pandemic mode. I thought of you. I sent you a text, and it's just periodically you go back and forth on my mind while this is going on. How has it been? How have you been handling? Like, I don't know. I just want to hear you talk about just when it first started getting serious. Like, did you, in your field of profession, did you hear about this maybe sooner than the rest of us?
I don't know how soon everyone heard about it, so I can't say yes or no to that specifically, but I can say that it actually started around the beginning of the year because of the Chinese New Year. So around that time was when that came about, and it was discussed because around the area where I'm in and where I work is where, like, I think some of the first cases in California was reported in this area. I think, I could be wrong, but I think so. At first it was thought of as a virus, only related to travel, and I'm in an area where there are a lot of people outside of my race, if I could say that. A lot of like Asians and Philippines.
Oh, okay.
And so with them, like traveling and stuff, like that was an issue with where I work, because they was like, well, should we allow them to come, or what? They had to make like policies and procedures for that. And so that was like the first that I heard about it, even before it became like a national outbreak and before it like started spreading and all of this and all that. I heard of it before it became global. And then what was that like in terms of you being a nurse and you being in the medical field? Like, what was your initial feelings like? Because I know, and I'll have to be honest with about myself. Like, at first, it was so like saturated, I thought, that it felt like that's all you can hear. You can't walk down the street. You can't walk into a room without hearing someone having a conversation about coronavirus. And it was just one of those things that felt like, because of my lack of knowledge and lack of understanding, it felt like it was getting too much attention. So, right.
It really started hitting home, I think, when they called it a pandemic. And then, I saw the way it was going to shift life. Period. Mm-hmm. So tell me, what was that like for you in your field? Like, did it make you nervous, or like what was that feeling?
Oh my gosh, So from then up until now, it's still it's still overwhelming. It's very overwhelming for sure, and it's the uncertainty of it all. It does make you nervous and fearful and afraid. One thing that whenever I first heard about it, I didn't know that there were different like strands of the coronavirus. So whenever the specific COVID-19, when that came about, I was very inquisitive and wanted to know more about it, and I was like interested because like I'm practicing in a field where I would have to face it potentially. And before I knew, like, we had patients that had the Wuhan coronavirus. And my attitude the whole time, I didn't downplay it at all. Like, even though I didn't know much about it at first, I didn't take it lightly. Like, I considered it as a risk, especially like something that it's a novel virus. It's something new. It's not like anything that no one has probably ever seen before. There was already an existing coronavirus, but the coronavirus that's been around for however long is not as dangerous as the Wuhan coronavirus. And so with me knowing that, I was like, okay, because we had patients that had the regular coronavirus, if I could say that, but they didn't have the Wuhan coronavirus. So whenever we started getting patients with the Wuhan coronavirus, then it started like spreading more and you started hearing about it. Then it just became like really overwhelming, and it's just a lot of unknowns. So it makes it difficult to face it when
there's so much that you don't know yet.
Yeah, because it's a lot of things that are unknown about it. And even like when I'm at work, like everybody tries to be on the same page because no one knows everything. So like there has been like a lot of changes as far as like processes and procedures and different things. Like,
let me ask you this. So since it began, have you seen any improvement and as it relates to the whole situation, or you don't see any change? Or tell me about it.
I see that the actual number of patients, because I work in critical care, I work in the ICU, so the number of patients that we have like in the critical care unit, like those numbers, I see that those numbers are going down. However, I don't really know, how it all ties into like the number of cases in the state as a whole, because everybody who has the virus do not require to be hospitalized. So I only see, when I go to work, which is, in the critical care unit, there are less people that have tested positive on the unit, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the actual cases in the whole state is trending down. But I think that is the case, and I hope so. But I know it's a lot of factors that play into that. I have seen a lot of patients like get better and go home, and then I've also seen some that don't make it. But also there are a lot of cases where patients that have had the COVID-19 and they get better and go home, a lot of them have to be readmitted for complications post healing from it. So it's, like I said, it's multifactorial. So I see changes, but I don't know how it equates like on a bigger scale.
Gotcha.
But I think overall, I think it is improving slightly, I hope, because I've noticed when I go out in public, at one point I saw, people here and there wearing masks, but now everybody has on a mask. Everywhere you go, Everybody has on a mask. And some people have gloves. So I do see a difference in the community as far as that.
And people taking it more seriously.
I think so. here.
Okay.
I guess working as an essential worker because I do deliveries, and I know in the beginning, like we didn't have any like masks, we didn't have anything like that. In some places you would go, that the fear was just starting to gradually climb, and then eventually they gave us masks, and so then I started wearing the mask as I go out, and then you would see it's just a variation. Some people, are strict and they wear their mask, especially like, of course, medical facilities are gonna check your temperature when you come in and all these things. And then you go to other places and nobody's wearing a mask and nobody seems even concerned that there's anything even going on.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry. In regards to that, so in Georgia, is it mandatory? Are they making it like mandatory, like in your area, that people wear masks, or is it just still a recommendation?
No, it's still a recommendation because there was never like a mandatory anything. Now Mayor Bottoms started like shutting the city down right away, and she was just taking it more seriously, especially due to the fact that it was said that the African American community was getting hit harder. And that was a concern because Atlanta is it's black, and it's serious. So I want to get into something else. Okay, I'm gonna start with the one that says sending you all love from a distance. Tell me what was going on in your world at that time that you posted this.
At that time, that was around the time that I heard about Georgia starting to permit like certain businesses reopening, and I was very concerned because my family is in Georgia, and I was just thinking like, oh my gosh, like I felt like I just had to say something in regards to it, because I know sometimes the news and the media, like some things can be misleading, and a lot of times like you don't know what to do. Like we still don't know everything about this virus and the most efficient way to treat it, but all we can go with now is what we know currently, and that's social distancing. And I saw different clips of how in Georgia specifically, I saw like a lot of gatherings where it was like a bunch of people. For me, knowing how it could potentially spread, I just wanted to put that out there, before all of the restaurants and shops and everything started opening up, just to remind people like, hey, like we all stuck in the house, we all tired of being in the house, we all tired of not being able to go out like we used to and do things, but this is our lives. And it's not just our life, it's everyone else around us. Like it's not just me, it's not you, it's the world. It's like everybody, like people who you don't even know that you could potentially like spread to, or be like a secondary person transmitting something to somebody. Like it's just very critical to really just develop like just safe practices, like just being aware, and just being aware of what's going on, and how to best prevent it from coming into you or your family, your loved ones. And so I was just very concerned about that. And also I just miss my family, and I love y'all, and so just me being distant from everybody, that was just me sending my love like in a post.
So now let's back up some, because I wanted to just start with what made you choose nursing. What was it? When was it that you knew that you wanted to get into nursing, and what was it that motivated it?
Well, it was Sweet Pea. She was my motivation. I heard her in my ear because, well, I was undecided. I knew I wanted to go to college and get a degree, but I didn't know what I wanted to like major in because I had a lot of interests. I really wanted to be a nail tech, but after graduating high school, so I just went to college because I had an opportunity with financial aid, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to major in. And so I waited until the last minute to decide, and I was so conflicted. I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And then the counselor, she was like bringing up different options, and she was picking my brain, and I was like, I want to do this, that. I just wanted to do everything kind of. And she was like, why don't you do nursing, because you know there's a lot of opportunities and you can do a lot of there are different roles in nursing. And she opened that up to me. I didn't know of all the things that you can do in nursing because I didn't know about it. And I looked into it, and then I thought about it, and then I just thought about, I remember when I was younger, I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I remember Sweet Pea told me, she was like, you gonna make a good nurse one day. And I was like, I don't know what you talking. I'm like, I don't want to be no nurse. Like, I was not interested in the medical field at all. Like, I like doing stuff for her because it was her.
Right, because of your grandmother.
Yeah, like I was just interested in stuff that she was doing, like going with her to the doctor, and she used to get me like pronounce like her medications and stuff, and give her insulin and stuff like that. I just like doing it for her. But then that came back to me, and I was like, well, she did say that, so maybe I'll just try it. And I ended up really liking it.
I could tell though. Yeah, I think you have, taken the approach and taken it to another level, because when you started, you started, I think, at Grady, right? Was that the first place that you?
That was my first job, my first nursing job.
Tell me what Grady was like while you were there.
It was everything. Like it molded me. Like Grady taught me a lot. I love Grady so much. I miss it. I really miss working there. Like, I just love the culture. When I first started, I've always wanted to be there, but it was really hard. It was rough. Like, I felt like I was being hazed. Like, I felt like I felt like I was being bullied. Like, I went through this really like rough phase for like over a year, like probably going on 2 years.
Like, what kind of stuff though? Like being hazed? Like what kind of stuff?
I just felt like I was being hazed. Like, nursing it's a rough profession, depending on the environment. I think
wow.
It was hard. Like, I started out on a med surg unit, and it was like we had high acuity, meaning like the people were really sick and had a lot going on, and we had high ratios because there's no ratio law in Georgia. And on the med surg floor, we had like patients that probably should have been on a higher level of care, but they ended up on the med surg floor. I had minimum 6 patients, and then a lot of times when we had admissions, when we had to admit patients from the ER or receive transfers from ICU, like, they would always throw it on me.
Wow.
A lot of times I would get the first admission, and I'm like, why y'all doing this? Like, why y'all giving me? So I would have 7 patients a lot of times, and with that, I felt like it was a lot of, I don't know why certain people had certain attitudes, but it was hard for as a new nurse, a new grad, it was hard for me to delegate. Like, I would delegate, but I guess it was a lack of respect on the other person's end, because I felt like maybe they felt like they shouldn't have to, do something for me because I'm this new grad or whatever. So a lot of times I had to do a lot of that stuff on my own because I didn't have the help that I needed. I'm not saying no one helped me at all, because I did get a lot of help, but it was hard to, kind of get into, just really owning myself and really knowing my role and how to do it. So a lot of things I had to just do like kind of on my own. But
I feel you, because I know how it goes. I mean, in every phase of whatever you do in life, people. I know in the Marine Corps, they called us boots.
Mm-hmm.
And when you came in, they did it deliberately. They treated you as a lower class because they wanted you to understand that and this is Marine Corps, and they wanted you to understand that you're nobody and nothing until you become who you are. And I know that was the approach in the military, but I would have never expected to hear you say that about nursing. But
it's like an unspoken rule. Like,
wow, that's right. That's just the way of life, I guess. Wow, that is very intriguing to hear that about nursing.
Yeah, but med surg is tough. Even though it was hard work, it was fun. Like, we had fun together, we laughed, and we had I learned a lot. Like, I learned a lot from like my peers and the nurses that have been there for forever. Like, they taught me a lot, and I just miss it. Like, I miss Grady. I love it.
Hearing you describe it like that, so now I'm wondering, like, how did the transition take place? What was the determining factor that sent you to California?
It really was to make more money. Honestly, okay. That was my main reason for coming, just to make more money, because I had goals. Like, initially I had goals, like I wanted to come to California to save more money quickly, to save up money for me to go back to school. And then I had got a new vehicle, and I wanted to pay that off. But so that was my original thing. And then the taxes in Georgia are different. Like, a lot of the money that I was making in Georgia, on top of working overtime, I was getting taxed close to 40%. It was about 35% or more. As a travel nurse, is different because most of your income is untaxed income. So if I was to work as a staff nurse in California, a lot of that money would get taxed too. But because I'm a travel nurse, my pay is pretty low, but my untaxed income is, that is majority of my income. So as far as taxes, it's a better situation, because a lot of the untaxed, most of my income is untaxed.
So now the other thing I remember having a conversation about is I think you said that you wanted to travel more.
Well, yeah, I did most of my traveling during that phase, but what really started it was me taking a mission trip, and that just gave me a whole new perspective on everything, and that really made I love that trip and the organization. Shout out to Nurses with Purpose. But that really kind of just was a push start for me to pursue travel nursing and try to travel. But I wanted to travel more internationally, but I think that was the only international trip that I've taken.
What places did you go?
We went to Johannesburg in South Africa.
All right.
And it was amazing. It's the best experience ever. So we were just in South Africa, in Johannesburg, South Africa, in the surrounding areas. So Oh wait, but on the way there, we did stop in London. That was interesting.
Right. I know I wanted to mention that. So yeah, tell me where did you go while you were there in London? I don't want to say bucket list, but I would love to go to London. Let me tell you about my little brush with the British. So I had to go do some video work for a church in Houston, Texas, and the guest speaker was this bishop named John Francis from it's Croydon, England. What happened is I was there as a guest and they were there as guests. So every time they took everybody to lunch, we all kind of had lunch together. And man, I tell you, I was in hog heaven.
Really?
British accent.
Oh my God.
And I got back home. I know Tawana wanted to tell me to shut up trying to speak British.
You were trying to speak like them? You were trying to speak like them?
Oh my God, because it's like, I don't know, it's like this sick addiction I couldn't resist. I've been working on my English accent. I had to figure out, we all got that, the oi and the, that sound. And it's so crazy because British people speak the best, American accents ever. Without, it just spins your head to see the people that you thought were American, and then you hear them, in an interview, they be like, oh, it's like...
Right, yeah.
Oh my God.
How do you do that?
So I heard one British person say, oh, we don't pronounce our T's. But then, as I continued to listen and study, I realized that British people don't always like to pronounce the consonants in the middle of words.
Oh.
So that's where you get sort of the difference. So
that
sounds good. You have to remove the consonants in the middle words, and then you can kind of get that sound that you hear.
Wow. I can see you been practicing.
Getting back to your trip. Your trip to London.
Well, it was really just a layover, and I was excited that we actually had the layover was actually 4 hours, because I was like, yes, I get to see London, while going somewhere else. So it was a win-win for me, and we did this little bus tour, and they dropped us off, and then we went to, it was a few monuments, but I don't remember all of them, but I think the Parliament was one of them. And actually at the time it was interesting because we saw kids that were protesting in the street, and they were protesting for the environment, and you heard their accents, and their accents showing in the streets, and wow, these kids they're so concerned about their government and the environment. And I was like, it was just good to be in a different environment and see, just how they were, in their lives.
Yeah. So, I had a very meaningful experience in it was in Italy, and we went out on the town in the streets, and we went to this pub. The owners of the place, he took the time. Now, we didn't have the technology back then. This was in the 1900s. I like to say 1900s to make it sound like it was a long time ago. So he had this big book, and it had Italian and American. So he and I communicated. He was showing me that there's a translation there. And we had conversations. He fed us. He gave us food. And
really?
Yeah, the dish he gave us one time, it was more of a spaghetti, and it was like tomato spaghetti sauce. That I really liked. But then he gave us sort of it was I gotta think of what that is.
Linguine?
The linguine Alfredo. And this was authentic. I remember the taste of it. It was just this authentic meal that he prepared for me and some of the other guys. And then we went and came back maybe a year later, and he remembered us.
Oh, for real? Oh.
Yeah, it was like, man, so that was like probably one of the greater experiences outside of going to Jerusalem. We went to Jerusalem twice. So yeah, that's, you know, I look back now in the military and it's like, you know, I talked to some of my friends from back then. Shout out to my man Jerome Cruz. We talk now and it's like just the camaraderie we established it made everything worth it. So okay, now you started out in San Diego, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you transitioned into San Francisco. How did that move come about?
After I left San Diego, I moved like further up towards LA, which was in San Bernardino. And then I like being close to LA, but I didn't like exactly like where I was at the time as far as like the facility. So I wanted to try something different.
Now, I know that you're biased. So let's remove the bias, okay? Let's remove the bias. If you can take everybody that you love and everything that you love and put it in the place that you would choose as a residence, would it be West Coast or East Coast?
I still say East Coast. It's nothing like home. Nothing like home. Like that's home. So I will always like, yeah, always.
But what I was gonna say as it relates to you going all the way to California, I mean, I tell you, it was one of those things where it was like, oh man, now we go all the way to California. I guess I'm going to Natalie. She's gonna be by herself. But what I thought about, I said, well, Natalie is Nicole's daughter. So I said, the feistiness that your mother had, I could tell that you got just some of it, and that means I think that you're capable of handling yourself.
I do my best.
You won't take no jump. When I describe your mother, Nicole Ardina Smith Kennedy, so she was sweet and thuggish. She was gentle yet brutal. I mean, you did not. The best thing for you was to be on her good side.
Right. You don't want to be on her bad side.
I'm telling you, she was such a class act. And when I tell you she was such a class act that, you know, everybody just, and this is not, you know, sometimes you say stuff about people when they pass away and everything, but this has nothing to do. Yeah. You would have heard the same things about her if she was just, you know, in the next room. Everybody just loved her because she was a cheerleader. I used to love every time somebody would come home, and if she was there at my Sweet Pea's house, she would go rush, you know, like clapping her hands, jumping and jump up on you, hugging. And I'll tell you, man, you know, you don't have anybody that has that type of, I don't know, just that aura about them like that. But like I said, don't want to get on. I'm gonna tell you one of the things as it relates to your mother and your grandmother, right? So, okay, one time, I don't know what we got into it for. We got into it over something, and your mother bit me.
Oh my God! For real?
The memory of that somewhere, but I got so many scars on my
hands.
She
bit you where?
She bit my hand. She bit me.
Oh my God!
Let me tell you about your grandmother. Your grandmother told me, and I'm gonna say the censored version of what she said. She said, "Go and put some chicken shizzum on your hand so her teeth will rot out." I was like, oh, oh man. That's one one woman. That's another one. That's probably where your mother got it from, because this woman, Sweet Pea, she was ruthless. Natalie, I'm telling you, this has been one of my most rewarding episodes to date. And I'm so happy that
I love this conversation. It's very interesting. Like, I learned a lot about you just talking.
You and I would say Francis as well. By the time y'all came along, the biggest memories I have is like the two of y'all coming to stay with us when we lived in Hampton, in the house in Hampton. Mm-hmm. And y'all were like our little girls. Y'all went to church.
No, we loved, that was like one of the most memorable moments of our childhood. We was so excited to go to Atlanta. We just thought we was best thing smoking because we went to Atlanta. That made our whole year. Like, just going there with y'all and y'all just showing us so much love. It just felt really good.
I'm just now learning to treat you guys like adults. You know, it took you some, I'm serious, it took so much. I had to really just, you know, catch myself. I really appreciate the time that we did the photo shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And that was fun.
That was fun. Thank you.
That was one of the moments we had an opportunity to kind of, you know, just talk and just me talking to you in your adulthood.
Yeah.
And, you know, just learning to just realize, like, you know, you guys are grown, and I'm thinking of all of you, you know, my nieces and nephews now. I have to just remember you guys are grown. Y'all got lives. How old are you now?
27.
That I'm sorry I asked now, because that's like, wow. I mean, I can't see past just the little, you know, little Natalie, you know, but like I said, you grown woman now, and you matured, and you're doing great things in life, and I can't, you know, be happier seeing who you become.
Oh, thank you.
It seems that you're living really like that ultimate life, almost, in the idea that you're doing what you chose to do, and then you're able to do it in, like, I would say, like a large fashion.
You think so? I wouldn't think. It's amazing that you think that way, but I don't feel like that at all. I don't feel. It's interesting that I guess it may seem that way, but I don't feel like that.
Well, I think, and that's one of the things I say too, that, you know, you make it look good.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, I'm not naive to the fact that you obviously probably have some struggles that you don't always, you know, have an opportunity to share. Mm-hmm. But just the idea that you're out there in the struggle and you're continuing to thrive. You may take, you know, some of your accomplishments lightly, but, you know, we see it as, you know, this is our baby girl.
No, thank you.
So now, this is a crazy time in life. So, what encouraging words would you say to, like, people in your profession to just, you know, be an encouragement to them?
Nurses, it's something about nurses. Like, as being a nurse, it's like we experience like some of the same things, even though it's all different. But we all know, to a I guess a small extent, we all know that we all like go through hard times. So just speaking from that, like, the nursing community is awesome. Like, I applaud everybody for just doing what they're doing and being in the field, and those that have retired and coming back, and like even the nursing students that are just graduating and jumping into it, and just everybody in all of their roles and places. Like, I thank you and I appreciate you. Like, I know it's not easy. I would just say, just keep going, keep pushing, and just keep trusting in God, because that's all I can do at this point. But I love you.
I would like to take a moment to acknowledge healthcare professionals everywhere. You may not hear this every day, but you are important, you are brave, we support you, and we appreciate you. At this time, I would like to mention a few of the healthcare professionals that I know. My niece, that I like to call Tweet, Brittany Walker, my cousin Lynette Smith, Stephanie Green, Felicia Dasher, my niece Brittany White, Carla Cruz, and I also want to mention a couple of seasoned veterans, cousin Sylvia Peterson, and my aunt Ruby Anthony. To those who have worked tirelessly during the pandemic, we see you, we care about you, we're praying for you, and thank you. We couldn't be there in California to send Natalie off to her shift, but we decided to do this as Natalie got ready to go to work that day.
Hey. Hey, Natalie. We just talked to you 5 minutes ago.
Thank you, Natalie. We love you, Natalie.
We love you. We're so proud of you. We miss you. We wish you could be in quarantine with us, but you're out saving lives, and we appreciate you for that.
Thank you, Natalie.
We love you. Keep up the good work.
Hey, Natalie. Hey, Natalie. I just want to say I miss you, and I'm proud of you and accomplishments.
What's up, Natalie? I just want to say you come a long way. I'm proud of you. Keep up the good work.
Hi, Natalie. This is Auntie Judy. I want you to pray first. Stay safe. Be
Hey Natalie, so proud of you. All the nurses out there who are doing a wonderful job. Continue to do good work. Nurses strong.
Hi, Natalie. Thank you. Thanks for your service. We love you.
Natalie, we all are so proud of you. If your mom was here today, she would be even more proud of you. Always put God first. Always pray. We will continue to pray for you. And keep up the good work.
Thank you so much for motivating me to do the same thing as well. Beyond proud of you. I hope you know that we are all thinking about you. We're praying for you, and
We love you, Natalie.
Love you.
we hope this whole thing blows over so that you and Glenda Brown can go back to Georgia. Love you. Bye.
This has been a very special episode for me, talking with my niece Natalie all the way over in California. Y'all know I don't end my episodes without giving a shout out to my son JD at Marvel DC and everything else. He's also operating the camera for me today. You know I also can't go away without giving a shout out to my queen, Tawana Fasay. Folks, and I love you. Can't wait to get home to see you. Atlanta, I'm praying for you. Till the next episode, I'm your friend Jerry. So, excuse me.
Bless you.
Everybody mistake my burps for a sneeze. It was a burp.
Oh, I thought that was a sneeze.
Tawana does it all the time. Okay. So hearing you talk about it like that, now I'm just. Hold on, I was scratching my ear, so I'm gonna do that over.
So.
That's the advantage I have for being an editor. I could, just start over. So anyway, let me get you full screen here. All right, look, are you looking back into your camera?
Mm-hmm. Yep.